Let's bring in Dr. Natalie Azar, who has been on this all along.
There's no chair.
We don't have a chair. Here, Dr. Natalie, you can have my chair. Please, you go right ahead.
What a gentleman.
I've been sitting all day. Not a big deal. Anyway, so we want to do some rapid fire questions on this. So first of all, that a lot of viewers and our crew have been asking, can I still go to the gym?
I think if you're older and have underlying medical problems, I would consider working out at home or working out outside as the weather gets a little bit warmer. If you're in the gym, wipe down. Okay, so the plastic and stainless steel, we know that it can survive on there for maybe a few hours to a couple of days. I know a lot of gyms are adding hand sanitizer dispensers at the gym. And one thing I did read, which I think might be okay, is you can wear gloves. Remember you asked me about gloves the other day, Maria? You can wear gloves to work out because I think most people are less likely to touch their face with the gloves. But as soon as you leave the gym, you got to put those in the wash. Yes.
What's older?
Technically, over the age of 60 or 65 is considered where your immune system, I know, and we're not all that far off. Your immune system declines a little bit, but above the age of 80 is really critical.
Concerts, movies?
Again, older underlying medical problems. Maybe stay away from those large gatherings. You have to think about, you want to be at least to be able to be 3 to 6 feet away from people. So the more crowded an arena is or something, the more likely it is you could be exposed. If you're out in the open and there's enough space in between folks, you're less likely to have somebody sneeze or cough on you.
Travel, airplanes, work environment.
So it is now official, really, from the government that they're not recommending cruise travel. I mean, we know that's closed spaces. We've known that with GI illnesses forever. So, but especially if you have those risk factors. I think airline travel, that it's, we've talked about this. Maybe the ventilation system could be, somewhat protective. You need to be wiping down. But if you're older and have underlying medical issues, flying somewhere may not be the smartest thing, not to mention the issue of getting stuck wherever it is that you travel if you're exposed there and need to be quarantined for 2 weeks.
It's interesting. I read an article about intimacy also, like kissing your partner and, like even at home. I mean, what is the...
Well, right. So here's...
Well, I read an article that said, I mean, you do have to be, if you're being careful overall,
it's a real family clusters are where there is considerable spread. I think our first case in Westchester, the entire, so that's to be expected. One question that I wanted to make sure I had answered from our epidemiologist is, if somebody in your house is in quarantine, meaning they were exposed but not sick, do you need to be quarantined, right? Because if you're, and the answer is no. So it's the contact of a contact. You yourself don't need to be in quarantine. So you might be living with someone who can't leave the house, but you yourself can, unless the Department of Health says otherwise. So check in with them.
What is the kind of, so many people I talk to, they'll say, like, I'm not worried at all. It's not going to affect me. Then other people say, I'm terrified. Where is the right, is there a middle ground here?
Like my mom always said, the middle. Yes, I think that this is how my philosophy now. People need to find a place between apathy and complacency on one side, just not caring at all or being too, I can handle it all, to on the other side, not leaving your house. Neither of those two extremes is what anybody is recommending. Everybody's individual risk is just that. It's individual. It's based on your age, where you live, your underlying medical conditions, what you do for a living when you go out of your house. So each person at home needs to take that own risk assessment and say, I am capable of doing A, B, and C without unusually increasing my risk for exposure.
Yesterday was church services, religious services. And our church didn't do the sign of peace, the handshake. It was just kind of the sign of...
I've heard a lot of that,
or if you're with certain religions, you've dipped the bread into the wine or take a sip of the chalice. What about that?
Right. I've heard from other people just anecdotally that in their churches, they're not shaking hands. And I'm assuming most religious leaders are, in line with that and would not ask their congregation to do something that could put them at risk.
I want to get your take on this idea that as it warms up here in the next few weeks, that we'll start to see a dramatic decrease in the number of cases.
So that is the hope, but it's not the guarantee. And that's from the words of Dr. Fauci. We know that the virus does like cold and dry as opposed to warm and moist. And like other coronaviruses and certainly influenza, there is that seasonal variation. So we may see a dip as the weather gets warmer, but it's no guarantee that that will either completely eradicate it and that it won't come back again in a year. But in a year, we may have a vaccine. And that could be the game changer
Real
for the
quick,
next
can
time.
I ask if you haven't gotten the flu shot like me? Should you still get it?
You haven't gotten the flu shot?
No, I
Still
have
get it.
not. I
Two
haven't.
reasons, Maria. Two
I
reasons.
haven't.
It's okay. Some of my patients haven't either.
It's okay.
Two reasons to get it. One is that we still have flu, and flu will last until May, so you could still at risk for getting the flu. The flu vaccine doesn't help prevent coronavirus directly, two different viruses. But if you do get the flu, you're more susceptible to getting secondary other respiratory diseases. You're more at risk to get pneumonia. So your lungs already took a hit from the flu. You're more susceptible to getting sick from something like coronavirus.
You can get one right here, by the way.
I know, but some people get them, and like Hoda had got the flu shot, and she still got the flu.
But it was
Allie's-
less severe.
Our producer
most
Allie's going
likely.
to kill me. Nick asked me this yesterday. Can you pass this on to your pet?
So here's, they have found the virus in the respiratory secretions of pets who have not been sick, though. So it's unclear if they are just, remember, very different animals to human and how the disease manifests. No animals have been sick with coronavirus. It's been detected in their respiratory secretions. They think it might just be from licking their owners. But importantly, so no pets have been sick, and importantly, there's been no evidence that humans can get sick from their dogs who may have coronavirus in their secretions.
We could sit here for 2 hours.
Okay, so we can take Pepper out of her crate then. Good. All right.
Tomorrow. Come back tomorrow.
That's right.
This
Natalie-
has become a daily thing.
Thanks so much.
I'm sure your patients love it.